So, you shared Noah Kagan's $1 Million Weekend with us for this deep dive. And, well, it's a really interesting look at how simple actions can sometimes lead to pretty big results. One of the core ideas that really jumps out, I think, is just the power of asking for what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds simple, right? But Kagan's work, it's packed with these real-world examples.
Right.
He's not just, like, philosophizing. He's drawing from his own life experiences, stories of others who found success just by being direct, by asking.
And one thing that really stuck with me was the part about his father and rejection. It's almost completely the opposite of how most of us think about it.
Definitely. His father, he was in sales, right? And he had this, well, pretty remarkable perspective. Instead of, getting bummed out by a no, he actually looked for it. He saw rejection as like a stepping stone, part of the path to eventually getting a yes.
Wow.
Which is fascinating when you think about the mental game there. It's all about a reframing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Failure isn't the end, it's just feedback, part of the process.
So his dad would literally walk into businesses, pitch something, and if they said no, that was okay. That was expected. He wasn't taking it personally.
Exactly. His father had this mantra, Kagan writes about it, love rejections, collect them like treasure, set rejection goals.
Set rejection goals. That's wild.
It is, right. But he aimed for a certain number of no's each week because he knew statistically if he asked enough times he'd get his yeses. It really says something about resilience, and how just shifting your perspective on setbacks can change everything.
It's almost like building up an immunity to the fear of hearing no, because I think for a lot of us that's the biggest hurdle, just the fear.
But that's exactly it, and Kagan makes this point really strongly. The potential upside of asking. Often it's, unlimited.
Right.
But the downside, usually pretty minimal, maybe some awkwardness, a bit of discomfort. So that fear of temporary discomfort becomes the main thing holding people back.
Yeah.
Think about that Kyle MacDonald story, the guy who traded a red paperclip.
Oh yeah, the paperclip for a house.
Exactly, all the way up to a house. Every single step on that journey involved asking someone for something bigger, something more valuable. This is such a powerful example of what can happen if you're willing to ask.
That story is just incredible. It really does make you wonder, what opportunities are we missing just because we hesitate, we don't ask. And Kagan brings up this word, chutzpah. It's Yiddish, right?
Yes, chutzpah. It's that mix of audacity, nerve, maybe some boldness, fearlessness almost.
Okay.
And what's interesting is Kagan notes that sometimes you see this trait more in people who maybe don't feel bound by the usual unspoken social rules.
Like who?
Well, he mentions immigrants, or maybe children of immigrants. People who perhaps didn't grow up internalizing all the things you're supposedly not allowed to ask for.
Ah, okay. So it's like having a different, maybe wider view of what's possible, fewer perceived limits?
Could be, yeah. Their mindset might just be more focused on the opportunity rather than, potential embarrassment or breaking some unwritten rule.
He shared a story about his own mother, too, didn't he? Something about silverware.
Yes. That's a perfect example. His mom apparently tried to return wedding silverware, decades later.
No way. Seriously.
Yep. Just to see if she could. It kind of speaks to that core belief.
Yeah.
What do you really lose by asking?
Okay, that's definitely chutzpah.
Right. And it does make you think. Think about times you've held back from asking for something. Work, personal life, whatever. What was it that stopped you? Kagan calls this ask avoidance, and he argues it's a huge barrier.
Yeah, I can see that. He even talked about his own struggles, right? Sending out tons of cold emails to designers.
Facing some really harsh rejections. He mentions one that was apparently super cutting, really stung.
Ouch.
But he kept at it. And he used that idea, those rejection goals we talked about, to keep himself going.
That's such a proactive strategy, isn't it? Intentionally putting yourself in situations where you might get rejected just to build up that resilience muscle.
Exactly. It reminds me a bit of Sarah Blakely, the Spanx founder. Her dad used to ask her and her brother at dinner what they'd failed at that week.
Really? To encourage failure?
Sort of. To normalize it. To make it okay. And that kind of early conditioning probably helped her deal with all the no's she got when starting her company.
Okay, so this ask avoidance is common. How do we actually start fighting back against it? Build up our own ask muscle, as Kagan puts it. He had that exercise. The coffee challenge.
Yes, the coffee challenge. And what's great about it is how simple it is.
Yeah.
The stakes are super low.
Okay, what is it exactly?
The idea is you go to a coffee shop, order your usual coffee or whatever, and then just smile and ask for 10% off. That's it. Don't give a reason. Just ask. And then be quiet.
Okay, just ask for a discount for no reason. It sounds awkward.
Exactly. That's kind of the point. The goal isn't really about getting the discount, though. Hey, bonus if you do.
Right.
It's about facing that awkward feeling, facing the potential no, and realizing it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
He even gives a script, right? Something like...
Yeah, super simple. Hi, how's it going? I'd like a whatever drink. Can I get 10% off? And then the crucial part. Stop talking. Just wait.
The silence must feel like forever.
Oh, I bet. And Kagan talks about that internal resistance people feel, worrying about annoying the barista, looking silly, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But pushing past those self-imposed blocks, that's the whole exercise. Worst case, they say, sorry, no. Politely, probably.
And what happens when people actually do it? What's the upside, he reports?
It seems pretty significant, actually. People often mention feeling this boost in confidence. They get a little more comfortable stepping outside that comfort zone.
Okay.
And they internalize that rejection isn't personal. It's not fatal. It really reinforces that core idea. Unlimited upside, minimal downside.
So that small act can have bigger ripple effects. Seems like it. Kagan shares stories of people saying it made them bolder in other areas, like negotiating a salary or pitching a new idea at work or asking someone out. It builds that initial comfort, that muscle memory for just putting yourself out there.
It really drives home that asking is a skill, isn't it? Like anything else, you got to practice.
Exactly. You wouldn't expect to be good at guitar without practicing scales, right? Right. So starting small, like the coffee challenge, it's a low-pressure way to start building that muscle.
Okay, so wrapping this part up, thinking about Noah Kagan's ideas on asking. What are the big takeaways?
Well, I think number one is just realizing the huge potential benefit of asking often outweighs the risk. That fear of rejection is usually bigger in our heads than in reality.
And remembering his father's advice.
Yes. Love rejections. Collect them like treasure. Set rejection goals. Because every no is just bringing you closer to a yes, statistically speaking.
And it's about deliberately building that ask muscle, fighting against that ask avoidance tendency. Definitely. Think about the paperclip again. From a paperclip to a house. That's what persistent asking can look like, even if it takes some...
chutzpah.
Exactly, some chutzpah. That boldness, that tenacity.
Which brings us back to that practical step, the coffee challenge. It sounds maybe a bit silly or small.
But it's tangible. It's a real action you can take to practice asking, experience the feeling, and learn that rejection is just information. It's a path to growth, not something to dread.
So here's something for everyone listening to maybe chew on. Is there some area in your life right now, maybe work, maybe something personal, where you've been holding back, not asking for something you want or need? What's the absolute smallest thing you could do, maybe even today, to just start exercising that ask muscle? What's one tiny request you could make just to get the ball rolling?